Well, my guest today on Dateline Abuja or Emmanuel Tefa Ifie is a journalist. Thank you so much for being part of Dateline Abuja.
It's a pleasure.
And Izere Precious Ohis is a career counselor and a social commentator. Thanks for being part of Dateline Abuja.
Thank you. It's good to be here once again.
So, discussing electoral violence, let's get straight to what is peculiar about this 2019 elections. It is so different from the rest. What makes it special?
Well, this is the first time we are having a situation where the legislature, for instance, you'll find there's argument as to who is majority in the National Assembly. You find the Senate President who was elected on the ruling party's platform. Today he's no more on that platform. You find that despite the ruling party, the APC still has a slim majority, is not actually leading the Senate, both the Senate President and Deputy. You find the same situation in the House, where the APC as the leading party in the nation in the House of Rep still do not control in terms of Speaker, don't have the Deputy Speaker, and you find a situation where the sitting Senate President is Director General of the leading opposition, who is also bent on clinching power from the ruling party. So there are quite a number of unique things about it. But for me, I think it's a good development, because I have always been an advocate of a situation where we don't have one party dominating from the executive, all the arms of the legislature, because in the past we've had situations where this situation like that, and it has never been too healthy, in my opinion, in the sense that the Nigerian people end up being the cheated ones.
Are you trying to say competition is healthy?
Yes, healthy competition, not unnecessary big rivalries that do not add value, because it creates room for negotiation. It creates room for lobbying. That's the whole essence of democracy. It's not a commando type where one person sit down and give orders and it flows down. That's no longer democracy. And as many would argue, that the beauty of democracy is not as if the military didn't build roads, didn't build hospitals, and the rest of it. In fact, in my opinion, they even did better in those areas. But the basic fundamental rights of the human person, the average Nigerian, of self-expression, deciding where I want to be, was denied. And I think this is why people have always opposed to the military. So I think this is the unique thing that is happening today. If we take advantage of these things and use them properly, positively, I think it will be something healthy for our democracy.
Mr. Oyis, you want to say something about that?
Well, a little bit. I'm just going to differ a little bit from what he has said. Not so much difference in our political climate right now. Same players, different mechanism. Same players, different mechanism. But I think what is different from 2015 is that we have some kind of balance and power as regards the incumbents and the opposition between the executive and the judiciary. You see right now that the executive and the legislative arm of government. The legislative arm of government, the heads are in the opposition. So you see that interplay. And for the very first time in Nigeria, we are seeing an opposition that has the experience of governance as against what we had in 2015. 2015 were basically some coalition, synergy, amalgamation of different forces wanting to oust the incumbents. But this time around, these are people who have been there, coming together to see how they can actually give the incumbent a run for their money. So not much has changed. But the basic thing shouldn't be the political interplay. It should be is the philosophy of these parties speaking to the Nigerian problem and challenge.
Well, I love the fact that you said the point you made, the same players but different mechanisms. Moving on, what are the risks of a peaceful and credible election?
Well, the risk is, let's look at what, if I understand you correctly, we're looking at factors that are responsible for that. Perceived injustice, the actual injustice, and this attitude of I must win at all costs. For me, these are the three key things that are recipe for political violence. If you are a desperate politician or a desperate person who insists that at all costs I must win, whatever happens, it must be me.
Anyhow,
let me use the local, anyway how. Then that's recipe. Then some again out of not truly so, but perceive that I was cheated. Then you would also, the tendency that you want to also do those things that will result to violence. Then where deliberately people are shortchanged. We saw even not too long ago the primaries of these political parties, where someone will win primary and you say no, it's not the person. Maybe one godfather somewhere say no, this is the anointed person, and it must be the person. So these are things that for me are ingredients, are recipe for violence. So,
you want to add something there?
Absolutely. You see, sadly, in a situation, in a system where people are socially and economically challenged, the next available sure means that can put food on your table, you embrace it. Our dominant political parties have so empowered political thugs that political thuggery is very lucrative in Nigeria. It is lucrative. How do you explain? Just few weeks ago in Lagos, during the inaugural APC campaign, where the sitting governor was making a speech, you could see the razzmatazz and show of shame between two rival court groups. These are residents, thug factions of different sects of the party, actually demonstrating with weapons before the entire world. And that was where a prominent political talk was stabbed. Report had it that about 2 persons were killed. And this prominent talk was also seen rubbing shoulders with a prominent political figure. When other people see a thing like that, this young man has his children overseas. He can afford an average lifestyle, lives in posh environments. Why will others not want to do that same line and see it as a sure means to an end? So the system have not discouraged to the barest minimum political thuggery. Secondly, where is the position of our consequence management? Have we seen the system punish people for bad behavior in this regard? So it is definitely so difficult, it's wishful thinking to say that we have an election without violence. Where is the position of our security agencies? We saw few months ago what happened in Rivers State when the federal SARS was aiding thugs to snatch ballot box just because one party perceived that they were losing. So the best thing is to cause chaos, and if I don't win, nobody else will win. The question is it about my ambition or about the people? Until our political players, our political chieftains start thinking about the people and less of themselves and their ambitions, it is difficult for us to say we are going to have an election free of violence.
Wow. What can be done to mitigate this possible violence?
Well, it's simple. It's simple.
Are the stakeholders, the INEC officials or the INEC and other security agencies doing enough?
It cut across board. Exactly. It has to be horizontal participation from the INEC. The INEC officials must ensure to be transparent. They must not be compromised. Let me shock you. Few weeks ago, I went to collect my PVC. I overheard some INEC officials, ad hoc staff, already discussing that they are ready to negotiate with parties.
These are things that you'd have just taken a picture of.
You see it. When we come out to say these things, people will say, do you have evidence?
Yeah.
Are they not allegations? These are things that are happening before our very eyes, and you are asking for evidence, and we should substantiate our claims.
Wow.
So most people, the INEC officials, first of all, have to be clean. The security agencies, from the police to the army to civil defense, all agencies must ensure not to allow themselves to be compromised. We have seen purported claims, allegations, heightened allegations that, in fact, the incumbent party are setting up mechanisms and machineries to rig this election. These are things that actually trigger violence within the polity.
How can we mitigate
Well, he mentioned the incumbent party, but I've also heard that even the opposition party, I had quite a
Well,
lot
it's still
of
just hearsay.
yeah, hearsay, where that they are also doing quite a number of things to ensure that they have upper hand.
Yeah.
And so both parties are, I think it's generally a Nigerian politician's problem. Every politician believes that he or she must do something extraordinary. And I think, for me, I think solving this problem is not just a one-off thing. I think we need to go back to the very foundation of our society as a
Going back
people.
to the roots.
Yes, because today you find even religious leaders getting involved in politics on this where they are not supposed to. Traditional rulers that before now were revered as custodians of our, they were seen in such a way that they were apolitical.
Are you saying that the religious organization should not be part of the electioneering process?
I am not saying so, but I'm saying that what they should be doing is to work more on the morals of the people. Let people understand that, look, there is, you have a moral obligation to ensure that things are done properly. Not openly taking side. That, and of course, some of them, we know when this Naira and Kobo exchange hands, then they take certain stands. And when you take such stands, the tendency is that you are also telling the other person that, look, the political leader should be like a father in the house. If the child, your two children, all you do, you bless them, the two of them, whoever is the best among them should succeed. But when you begin to take side with one, it's also a recipe. You are encouraging the other one to begin to say, look, since this is this way, he began to find other ways of cutting corners to change the system. And these are possible situations that could give rise to violence. So I think we need to go back and we need to begin to build. Parents also have a duty. We need to begin to educate.
Do you think the timing is even right? Like all these things we are saying, we have like 2
in
weeks.
In the long run, I'm saying because whatever we are saying here today, I don't know. The time is already there, but in the long run,
these are things that they would have done. Don't you think?
I'm looking at it from a long-term planning
perspective.
Where I remember as growing up child, you come home with a pencil from school, you are questioned, where did you get this pencil? That begin to sink into you that what do not belong to you are not supposed to. In fact, we were taught not to get anything by force. Work and earn whatever you are getting. But when people from home, children grow up and seeing that no, it's normal, I can fight, I can force my way and get things done when I do not merit them. They grow up with that and become part of them. And so they don't see anything wrong. We are telling them, look, you don't need to do illegal things to win election. It is what you put in, as they say in computer language, garbage in, garbage out. Because such a person has grown up with such orientation. So it's not something you can change overnight.
Yeah.
Well, I think in addition, as regards the position of our clergy should understand that their narrative have a very strong way of influencing actions and inactions of people in our society. Therefore, I think our clergy should take a dispassionate position in election processes rather than incite members against
each other.
The other.
Okay.
It's a very dangerous trend.
Yeah.
To that end, we must ensure that people who behave badly are punished.
Yeah, we're supposed to come there because really, we're talking about that earlier on.
Yes.
We just
Have
we
you
have-
brought anyone to justice? Has anybody
the
come out to
police,
say
the police must ensure to arrest perpetrators of electoral violence and prosecute them. And the law, the judicial arm must ensure that they look at these issues thoroughly. The police should, if somebody is civilian who is not licensed to carry arm, is seen with arm, for God's sake, that is enough evidence
Exactly.
to
Correct.
throw him
Yes.
to jail, to be punished. Why compromise? Is it the level of compromise is too much? Then we must not fail to also look at the position of leadership. We must begin to do things rightly. I tell you, when people are socially vulnerable, it is difficult for you to say you want to serve justice or punish people. They don't care. They don't. But when there is an alternative, a genuine source of livelihood, I don't think the perpetrators of this type of behavior are happy doing it.
you think so?
I don't think they are happy.
Yeah, not all.
It's a means to
Some-
an end. Yes,
yeah.
some of them is already,
Some-
it's already
part of them.
entrenched in their subconscious
Yes, but
that
some-
this is how I must do things.
Situation, condition, they are forced into the situation, and that's where the issue of proper orientation comes in. I mean, you and I don't think we will say we're having 100% rosy, but because of the orientation, the way you were orientated, you still say, look, despite my challenges, there's no justification for me to go and do what is wrong.
Yes.
But some, because the orientation is very feeble, I mean, they are not
And
grounded.
they think they can get away with it.
Ah,
You know,
ah,
that's a
yes,
fact.
because they see
That's
others
Of
why.
the system,
They see others getting
Away
away.
with it. So they're like, well,
Look, in this
they have been
country,
promised.
in this
that-
country today, there are people who, I don't want to mention them, but we know of people who, from nowhere, through, as you're mentioning, Togri, through
rose to
Togri,
prominence.
they have established, they have become, in fact, some
and they've
today,
gone to recruit.
Yes.
some are even in government today. Some are in government, some have held positions, very prominent positions, and they become like how do I say it? They become like others young people who look up them, they become like mentors to them. They now begin to look up to them, say, if this person will through this channel is here today, I mean, so why won't I mean, that's the way to go.
Yeah.
And it comes to the issue of the end justify the means.
Well, recently we just signed from National Peace Committees. We just signed the Peace Accord, the Absalom Peace Accord, and all political parties came together to sign that. What's your take on that? At least they're all making an effort to say no, we are off this. We want peace.
It should go beyond the lips to the heart.
That's an action.
What we are saying is just lip service, but deep down in your subconscious, what are you saying? What are you telling yourself? Our politicians must begin to reorientate their supporters against the real concept of loyalty. Loyalty is not, harming the other person to demonstrate that indeed I am loyal to my
Yes.
principal. All these things is all about demonstration of loyalty. Oh, I am loyal, I am loyal, I am loyal. If within your loyalists, within your supporters, there is one who has a tendency to be violent, let it be that it is you who will even call the police to arrest such people.
What can that be done?
Not fanning their embers. But once these thugs see that, it's more like a safe haven for them before their principals,
Yeah.
you don't discourage it.
Yeah.
And like I said, let's look at the issue of leadership, the welfare of the people. Our socio-economic climate must improve. We must be concerned about ensuring that the welfare of Nigerians is good.
Thank you for hitting on that. And Mr. Tefa, you're saying something about it's not a do or die affair. Do you really want to just a little bit just touch on that topic, because it's very important to let politicians know that it is not a do or die affair.
First and foremost, the intention of people going into politics, that's where the whole problem starts.
Yeah.
And that's why I am a strong advocate of a situation where, particularly the legislative arm, which is the easiest now everybody runs into, go to the state level, see what's happening. I have been advocating that we should raise the bar. When I say raise the bar, I'm not talking about school educational qualification alone. For you to go to the legislature, I would expect that beyond your educational qualification, you should have been found to be doing something and probably build a career, have a name. When you have a name, the tendency that you want to protect that name. So you will no longer see it as I must. And you will no longer see it as I don't have any other means. This is my only meal ticket. Because some go into the very into politics, they see it as this is the means to survive.
Almost.
Well, there are some few ones who one would not say it so. Because some would have built a career, would have made name, and they are quite still fine gentlemen and women who you can look up to. But quite a number of them, even here at the National Assembly, you find there are people who just left school and went into. We have seen what the way they display. We have seen what they have done. So that's and so when you have quality people who know their onions, who have a name, who have built a name over time, or who have something to look back to, you cannot influence them easily, and they would see a situation where, I'm sorry, maybe I will mention a name. Somebody like Senator Mamora. One fine senator, when he served, after one time, when they say, no, you will not go back, he didn't bother. He happened to Senator Anyin. When he was having problem with the state governor, say he will not go back. As a sitting Senate president, imagine that if he was a desperate president and insisted, as a sitting Senate president, you imagine what the state would have been at that time. So these are the kind of things I am looking forward to. And why I mean by it's not a do or die thing. When you have something doing before, elsewhere in other clients, most people would have either been doing some things and not come into politics as a way of service to their community, their societies. We saw Trump in the US today. I mean, Trump is not a hungry man.
No.
He was as good as any president anywhere in the world. He vowed to be, I think he said the salary would be just $1. He's not bothered about it. So you will discover that when you have such people, the tendency is that they are not bothered about it won't be a do or die. But people who probably see that this is my only opportunity to survive, to make a living,
then they are desperate.
They stop at nothing.
Thank you so much. Do you want to have a counsel for the last take on that?
Well, we must understand that politics should be about service, not about a means of survival. Until we change that orientation and create a shift in our political paradigm, we will continue to live with the teeming problems that we are currently facing in Nigeria. Let's like you rightly said, let us rejig the criteria of who is vying for a public office. It should not be an avenue for people to come and survive, but to serve. The legislative arm is the most sensitive part of a democratic setting, and that is why their tenure, by default, is such that you can be there for a long period of time. In other climes, other civilizations, you realize that people who are in the legislative arm are seasoned professionals who have done well in their careers and are coming there to, formulate policies that they understand nation building. Here is different. It's about survival, emperorship. That is how it is.
Thank you so much. This is a very interesting topic, and we hope that we hope for the best. We hope for a free, transparent, and credible 2019 general elections. Thank you so much. I've been talking to Mr. Emmanuel Tefa Ifye. He is a journalist. Thank you for being part of Dateline Abuja.
Always a pleasure. And
Izere Preshois, a career counselor and a social commentator. Thank you so much for being part of Dateline Abuja.
Many thanks.
The program is Dateline Abuja. Stay tuned. I'll be right back.